Hi there, Mike Hall here in our Big Ten Network studios in Chicago. We are ready for the college football playoff semifinals. 4 teams remain, 50% are from the Big Ten. And for the course of the next handful of minutes, we're going to focus on the Penn State-Nittany Alliance because James Franklin and company hadn't even made a playoff until this year, and now they've already won 2 playoff games. 2 more victories, and they are national champions. The bracket looks like this. Penn State will be facing off against Notre Dame, and if they win that game, it'll be the winner of Texas and Ohio State awaiting them in the national championship. Quite a run for James Franklin. Let's hear what he has to say as we listen into his press conference.
So first of all, appreciate everybody being here, especially the people that are here in person. Really appreciate you guys covering Penn State football. Couple things. I think the first thing I wanted to say is, and I think you guys know this, but we have 14 players that we recruited that have come early, and this is the first time we've done this. They're basically here taking everything in, not really contributing a whole lot, but just sitting in meetings, watching practice. We talked about it with the Leadership Council ahead of time, and they were in support of it. And those guys have done a really good job being respectful of the veterans and the program and not creating a distraction, which was a long conversation ahead of time. But that's been really good. The only negative, and the reason I bring it up, is we got a couple guys from Florida who have never seen snow before, ever in their life. And I'm telling them, like we got significant snow right now. And I'm saying, we haven't had snow like this in 2 years. I struggled getting to work this morning, and I never struggle driving in the snow. But they're looking at me like, sure, Franklin, like the recruiting speech, like we don't get a whole lot of snow. But literally, they're looking out there, and they're like, not only have I never seen snow before, but not this much. But it's been really cool having these guys here. I think it's been a positive. I think it'll really pay dividends for us and for them down the road, just learning our culture, how we operate. They'll get to spring ball practices. They'll be way ahead. So ton of reasons that we did it. More importantly than all that, I just wanted to make a comment about, obviously, the tragedy in New Orleans. And our thoughts and prayers and support goes out to the families and the victims that were involved. Terrible, terrible, terrible thing for that city, for those families, for our country. It's sad in so many ways, So our thoughts and feelings from Penn State football go out to everybody that was impacted by that. Want to take a minute of a pause right there because you hate to just jump into the next topic after that. But we're expecting a large crowd in Miami. I thought last week, especially under the circumstances, I don't think people understand when you're playing SMU at home and you're filling up a 107,000 seat stadium with pretty much all of your own fans. SMU, small private school. That was impressive. That was a great home environment. And then the very next week, on a short notice, you got to travel again. And I'm talking about for our fans to travel again. And I thought last week's support was awesome. I got to give Boise credit too. I thought they did a great job. The energy in there was really good. But here we are again, and this is the challenge of the playoffs. But our fans have been great. Our fans are special. We recognize that, and we're expecting a huge crowd in Miami. And I challenge everybody to wear white and white out energy. We want that place rocking. Probably more hoodies than T-shirts from what I've heard on the weather report. But we need that place rocking, and we appreciate the support that we always get. Couple other things that I did want to cover with you guys. We did not submit, and I want to say this to you guys because it affects your job. We did not submit the availability report in the Boise game, and the reason why, and again, I know that impacts you guys doing your job, but the reason why is the college football playoff. It's not a requirement. And what happened the week before is SMU did not do one, and we did. So until this is a consistent mandate across college football, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to do one when they're not. So just so you guys know, I want you to understand that was the reason behind that. So kind of getting into this game, Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, I've known and followed Marcus for a long time. I think you guys know Jared Parker. Jared was on the staff there. Jared was with us. Jared and Marcus are really good friends. Heard a ton of good things about Marcus, from Jared. Watched his career for a while, obviously, being promoted there and getting a job like Notre Dame, and has done a great job, has really run with it. I think in a lot of ways they're built similar to us. You look at their turnover ratio numbers, you look at their explosive play defense in terms of defending and limiting explosive plays. You look at the middle eight. They're built in a lot of ways that I think we are in terms of emphasizing the statistics that matter. And they do a great job of not beating themselves, which I think is a really important thing in college football. It starts with that, and then you kind of go from there and play to your strengths and things like that. But I think they do a really good job of those things. Obviously, the quarterback's production jumps out at you. Total production, his impact of the game, specifically as a runner and a big-bodied guy, but also can make plays in the passing game. Their running backs, we think, are legit. They got a massive offensive line. Defensively, when you talk about them on the defensive side of the ball, Al Golden, who's one of us, he's a Penn Stater. I've known Al for a long time, been a head coach, been in the NFL. He's doing a great job with their defense. Again, very sound, very aggressive, very disruptive. I think they're, do a really good job on the back half as well. His blitz packages are challenging. A lot of stuff I think that he's done over his career as a defensive coordinator, but also time in the NFL in terms of attacking the quarterback. They do a really good job. And then obviously Coach Denbrock on the offensive side of the ball has also done a really good job of playing to their strengths, running the ball, quarterback run game, and then keeping you honest with the passing game. And then I know last week, I think it's B1G. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, the special teams coordinator. I know he got a lot of love during the game and on social media, but you really look at it, they've done it all year long on special teams, one of the better special teams units in the country. So this is a well-rounded team. Obviously, you don't get to this point of the season without being good in all three phases. So far, got a ton of respect for what we've seen on film and what we've studied. And we got a lot of work to do. So excited about the opportunity and open it up to questions.
Let's go to Rich Garcella on Zoom, followed by Johnny McGonigal.
Hey, Rich. We don't have no volume on Rich. See his handsome face, but can't hear you, Rich.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now. There you are.
Okay. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. You?
Good. Fine. Great. Hey, what kind of inspiration and impact do you think you and Marcus Freeman can have on younger black coaches by representing them in this game?
It's interesting that you asked that question. I remember, and I wanted to kind of go back and jot down some notes, but to me, it just kind of makes me think of when Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith played in Super Bowl 41 in 2007. That was the first Super Bowl featuring a black head coach at all, let alone two. Obviously Dungy became the first black coach to win a Super Bowl, which was significant. I remember thinking that as a coach, how significant that was, in the profession, and how significant that was for young coaches coming up in the profession to see those guys in that role. I also remember I was the offensive coordinator at Kansas State at the time, and working for an African-American coach in Ron Prince. And then I also remember at that time, there was a lot of conversations about, will this impact the profession? Will this impact opportunities, for guys, earned opportunities for guys? And at that time, there was 6 coaches, African-American coaches out of 127 schools at that time, 127 schools. And, I think if you look at it, it was Sylvester Croom, Carl Durrell, Turner Gill, Randy Shannon, Ron Prince, who I coached for at the time. It was myself, and it's interesting, on that staff, it was myself and Raheem Morris, who was Shola's godfather. And Raheem's now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Ricky Ronnie was the offensive GA, who's the head coach at Old Dominion. Scott Frost was the defensive GA, who's the head coach now again at Central Florida. Really, really good staff. And then I don't know if I mentioned Tyrone Willingham was the other one. And there was conversations about how will this impact, and I look at it since then, there's an increase of 7%. There's 16 coaches now out of 134. And I know some people will say, well, that's not a huge increase, but it is an increase. So, at the end of the day, does this create opportunities for more guys to get in front of athletic directors? Does this create opportunities for search firms? I hope so. I think at the end of the day, you just want an opportunity, and you want to be able to earn it through your work and through your actions. We'll see. I take a lot of pride in it. I think you guys know there's been some conversations in the past I kept private for a long time, and I take a lot of pride in it. I'm honored. I'm honored to be able to compete against Marcus. I'm honored to be able to compete against Notre Dame. Most importantly, I'm honored to represent Penn State and the young men in that locker room. And for me to sit here and say that it's not important and it's not significant would not be accurate. Would not be accurate. So, all that's great. But at the end of the day, we got to find a way to beat a really good football team that's well coached. That's well coached. And again, I think, like I've already stated, at this point of the season, you really have to be doing all things well to get to this point. You got to recruit well, you got to develop well, you got to hire well, you got to have the support from the administration, which I think you guys have heard me say that we do now at a significant level, with Pat Kraft and Neely Bendapudi and Kleppinger. Before that, Matt Schuyler. And we have that. So pretty cool. So we got to be ready to go against a really good team, and we're taking advantage of each one of these days. Yesterday was our Sunday. Today is our Monday, so it's the off day for the players and the game plan day for the coaches. So we're a little bit ahead because we only had one extra day. Last week, the schedule was a little bit different. We had a longer preparation period. I don't know why that is from a college football playoff perspective. You think it'd be the same for each one, but this one's a little bit shorter. So, looking forward to the opportunity. Long answer. I apologize.
Let's go to Johnny McGonigal, followed by Audrey.
Johnny?
I just got muted there. All right, I think I'm good now.
Hey, John.
Looking back a bit, what stands out, or what do you remember most about the recruitment of Nicholas Singleton, and how have you seen him grow as a person and player over the last 3 years?
Yeah, so I think you guys know. I think at the time we had a guy on our team that we have a ton of respect for from Governor Mifflin High School, and Jan Johnson, who's now coaching with Coach Pry at Virginia Tech. And Jan just had a phenomenal career, in some ways very similar to Dom DeLuca's path, right, in a lot of ways. So we had a good relationship with that school. We had a good relationship with those coaches. I think both of them kind of had the same trainer as well, Garage Strength. They do a phenomenal job, so there was some connections there as well. And he just was like a really good athlete. And very early on, we weren't even necessarily sure what he was going to be, but we wanted him on our roster. We just knew he was too big, strong, fast. We were going to want him somewhere. You got to remember, when Coach Pry was here, every good player that we were recruiting, he thought was a linebacker. Every single one of them. So I think early on, we were, I thought, in a really good place. And then he went on some visits and almost lost him. And then we're able to get him back and, had a great senior year. And, has really just showed up here ready to contribute. He's a guy, I think, in a lot of ways, like a lot of guys say they want to play as freshmen, but he approached it that way, in the weight room, in terms of learning the offense, how he practiced. Got an awesome mom and dad. One of the best home visit meals we've had. Mom made oxtail. I don't know if you guys know, Coach Troutwine's lost over 100 pounds since his playing days, and he never eats anything. He packs his own food. Everything's organic, like even water. Like he won't drink certain water. I'm like, what are we talking about? Trout killed the oxtail. He was like crushing and going back for seconds and thirds, which I've never seen Trout like that. Got a great relationship with mom and dad and brother, to be honest with you, as well. And I think he's just another example of a local kid that has thrived here. He's crushing it academically, been great in the community. I think you guys have got to spend a lot of time around him. He's a man of few words, but he's a substance guy. And to me, that's what Penn State is about. We may not be the flashiest. It's funny. I even look at Notre Dame, and there was a lot of parallels between like Notre Dame and Penn State, and kind of the same uniforms. And now Notre Dame's even got a ton of different uniforms and things like that. But to me, he's a Penn State guy in terms of just substance, right? And has maximized his career. I think obviously he's trying to decide what he's going to do, him and his family. Been a ton of conversations there. But he's been awesome. I think him and Katron have developed a really good relationship. With sometimes that's not always the case. It could be adversarial. They've been really good friends, both on and off the field. I think they're complementary pieces to each other. But he's doing great. He's thriving. Obviously, we'd love him back, but if he decides to come out, we'll fight like heck to get him drafted as high as possible. I know it's really important for him to go play well in this game this week to keep this season going and to keep this team together. We got 65 plays left on offense, defense, 24 plays on special teams. That's how we're approaching it. And Nick's been a leader like that. So, big fan of Nick and his mom and dad and Governor Mifflin High School and how he's kind of handled his whole Penn State career. If it was just about Penn State and being greedy, I'd love him back, but I ultimately want him to do what's best for him. More times than not, it's going to be what's best for everybody.
Let's go to Audrey Snyder, followed by Adam Rittenberg.
Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, Audrey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I wanted to ask about Abdul Carter. How do you think he's kind of progressing this week, and do you anticipate him being available on Thursday?
Yeah, he's doing great. His attitude is great. His mentality's been really good. We'll see, but I think he's taken the right approach and mentality. And it's going to come down to how he feels and how much practice he's able to get during the week. At this point, I don't think there's anything that is stopping him from playing. But it's going to come down to, how is he able to play, we'll see. We'll see. But his mentality is great. He's got a big smile on his face. I think he's excited about this week. But it's too early to say at this stage. And as you guys know, I don't usually talk about these things a whole lot. I get where we're at. This is an important piece and storyline. But Abdul's going about things the right way, and we'll see how this thing plays out.
We'll go to Adam Rittenberg and then Mark Brennan.
Hi, James. Good
Hey,
to
Adam.
see you. Well,
Adam, where are you? Because everybody else I've known so far, they sit in the same room. Where is this?
yeah, I'm at home. This is the home office, so very similar place to normal.
Home office, basement, up on the normal floor. Are you in New York?
Normal floor. Normal floor. So
Awesome.
yeah. We'll have to have you over for dinner sometime when you're in Chicago. So
The picture over your left shoulder, is that something significant that I should know? Is that something a family member made? What is that?
oh, the left. I actually don't even know where that picture. My kids got me that picture. They didn't do it. And then I get a lot of comments on the upside down world map on the other side. So
What's the rationale for that?
no rationale, James. I don't put a lot of thought into this, but maybe I should.
And the degree? And the degree?
That's my degree from Northwestern, and proudly display it there.
I love it. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. You've been through the almost a full season with Andy, and I'm just wondering. He's obviously a really creative guy. How do you manage, or maybe just overall approach that creativeness that he brings to the offense, with maybe some times where, hey, let's just run the ball, let's do something straightforward, this is working. How do you kind of balance those two things, given who he is and why you hired him?
Well, a couple things. Number one, I kind of manage it like the same way I've always managed it. I think as an offensive coordinator, as a defensive coordinator, I may say to Tom Allen, hey, let's make him earn it here. It's a 3rd and long, trying to decide on the headset, whether we're going to go after him or play more coverage. That's the stuff I'll probably say. If they're discussing it, him and Anthony Poindexter on the headset, hey, what do we want to do here? And I may jump in there and say, hey, I agree with Dex. Let's go after him here, or let's make him earn it. And then the same thing on offense, where there's times where maybe we hadn't taken a shot in a while, and I think we need to loosen them up and be aggressive. Or we're at midfield and we're in 2-down territory, and I'm saying, hey, you got 2 downs here, so call this 3rd down as if you got 2, if you're going to go for it on 4th down type of deal. So allow us to be aggressive there and take a shot, or just pick up the 1st down. So it's more things like that. It's governing the big picture. We need to run the ball here. We need to milk the clock. We're ahead by 3 scores or 2 scores, and we want to run the ball here and manage the clock as much as possible. It's interesting, the creativity we want, and that's a big reason why he's here. The explosive plays, which are typically tied to the creative plays. It's funny though, last week we ran the toss where Ty Warren tossed it to Drew, and we tried to take a shot down the field. And everybody thought that was a bad decision, according to Chris Peterson and Greg Kincaid. They sent that to me because it didn't work, right? When it works, everybody thinks it's the great decision. The double pass to Tyler Warren, the throwback. If that didn't work against USC, it was, oh my God, they tried to get too cute, right? For us, we work at these things. We want to be aggressive. We want it to be just part of our identity. This is what we do. And I think it creates a lot more headaches for the defensive coordinator and the defensive staff that's trying to prepare for these things. And at the end of the day, it's about execution. You got to rep it enough that the guys know what to do. So, like, for example, it's not always going to play out the way you repped it in practice. So have you repped it enough that when the ball's supposed to go here and that's not open and it's been open every single time in practice, have you given them the look where, okay, that's covered And what's our answer right here? Are we throwing the ball away? Is there an outlet? Are we trying to get back to the line of scrimmage? Whatever it may be. I think that's the important thing is we want the creativity. We want the explosive plays. That's probably the biggest difference in our offense this year is the explosive plays, which is a big reason why he's here. But those are also tied to the creativity and also all the things that you got to try to prepare for during a week, right? So it's all of that. And for me, it's just, either pushing Tom and Stig and Andy to be more aggressive when I think we need to, or when there's times that we need to be a little bit more conservative. That's kind of how I see it. And during the week, we'll have some discussions, or during practice, I'll see some things, or we'll discuss some things, and I'll give some feedback. But I want us to be aggressive. I want Tom to call the game aggressively. I want Stig to call the game aggressively, and I want Andy to call the game aggressively and creatively.
Well, as you might have assumed, this is just the beginning of our coverage. We will be getting ready for the Notre Dame-Penn State game throughout the week. All the days coming up until the game. Make sure you're with us here on the Big Ten Network. That'll do it for us. I'm Mike Hall. We'll see you next time.